I think it's time to have a little fun by thinking about. I'm going to laugh a lot during this one, probably. I'm not a professional political pundit, so uh, I would say please bear with the unprofessionalism, but I'm not a professional as far as me laughing during this. But let's talk about the way the Mueller thing played out versus the way it was supposed to play out among the American left. Because you have to remember, and I posted on Facebook about this maybe 6 months, a year ago to a year ago, the investment that the American left had in this report was just amazing to me. That's what was amazing, is that the investment as far as the political investment, the career and reputation investment. I mean, none of them will be held to account, but you have the biggest names in journalism. I mean, I don't necessarily consider them journalists or even good journalists, but think about the group: Joe and Mika, Anderson Cooper, the old ones like Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, and all of them. David Gergen on CNN. Just these best-selling authors, been around for decades. They just had the American public focused and questioning Trump, the Russia investigation. Now, Democrats' response to this will be, of course, yeah, but I mean, there was evidence floating around all over, so we had the right to think this way. And that's going to be their escape clause, you will. But I'm not going there. I don't think. I think they should be held to a higher standard, because let's think about the root of the evidence that they had, the big things that they were pointing to over and over again. Trump Jr.'s meeting with the lawyer in Trump Tower and the Russian agent, and maybe the dossier. More than anything, that meeting. I would guess Donald Trump Sr. is probably still irritated at Donald Trump Jr. to this day about holding that meeting. So if it wasn't for that meeting, which was sloppy and foolish on his part, there would have been nothing there. I mean, that meeting, as far as that was like the nucleus of this whole Russia circus. It was that meeting, which is unfortunate. I mean, something so small. I guess you couldn't say it's small, meeting with a Russian agent, but you know what I mean. So, the investment people have had in this is incredible. So, we forget that the hardcore leftists, has been like a orgasmic climax to this report, because this report was going to show right from the night at the Javits Center in New York City, when everyone's crying and Trump has all those fraternity looking boys cheering his name, that the whole thing was just a huge mistake. It was all, the American public had been hoodwinked. And so Mueller was supposed to come. Now, I don't know if you know this, Mueller is so perfect, such a perfect human being, that when he passes gas, there's no smell. That's how perfect Mueller is. No, but seriously, Mueller, what am I trying to say? You know, they built Mueller up. The way they built Mueller up was a risk on their part too, because all we've heard is about his Marine Corps service, his Vietnam service, which was great. And don't get me wrong, the guy is an impressive guy, an impressive human being, politics aside. But they built him up so much. Now you can't say that the report is a farce and that he caved to Bill Barr and blah. You can't build the guy up for 2 years about he might be the most perfect human being God ever sent down the pipe, and now the report he created is a farce. Can't do that. You can't do that. So let's think about, the way the Mueller thing in the land of Chris Matthews and Rachel Maddow and Anderson Cooper, the way it was supposed to play out is that it was just confirmed everything they had thought. And so the report comes out, everyone's in complete dismay, no one knows what to do because it's so hideous, the stuff that's in there. It just verifies everything. Trump, of course, will never resign like Nixon did, because he's so pathologically, delusionally narcissistic that he's going to bunker down in the White House, and he's going to fire Rosenstein, and he's going to fire Bill Barr, and it's going to be the Saturday Night Massacre like Nixon. All over. Have you noticed how many times the left-wing websites have talked about the Saturday Night Massacre with Nixon over the last 2 years? It's been crazy. MSNBC, most people don't realize that I check CNN and MSNBC way more than I check Fox, because I'm entertained by it and I want to know what they're talking about. And so MSNBC has had Nixon specials here and there throughout the last year, trying to keep the name Nixon in the news, and resignation and impeachment, and just making their audience drool just a little bit more with that name floating around out there. So the way it was supposed to play out, there's going to be a massacre, and Trump's bunkered down in the White House with Melania and Barron. Actually, they're body doubles, because everybody knows the real Melania and Barron have been living in Russia and the Crimea for the last year, but that's a whole different story. Only Rachel Maddow's smart enough to figure that out, but she's kept it to herself, because she didn't want to scare everybody. But anyway, so Trump is bunkered down, but he's not going to resign. And now we're in CNN, once a week, they roll in all 900 pounds of Carl Bernstein with his coffee cup sitting there. We're heading, if we're not already in a constitutional crisis, we probably are there. If I had $1 for every time I've heard the word constitutional crisis over the last 2 years, my God. And they're so sloppy. They don't even realize what that conveys. It's like we're some third world banana republic on the verge of collapse. And the hysteria that they can create among the millions, especially senior citizens who watch cable news 12 hours a day, just sitting there going, we're in a constitutional crisis. But whatever. So Trump's bunkered down with Melania and Barron's body doubles in the White House in D.C. He's not resigning. The executive branch is in chaos. And if Mattis and Kelly were still there, they could take charge. But Trump got rid of them because he knew the report was coming out, and he couldn't have them around because he knew, being former Marine Corps generals, they would throw him out. So now we got this big mess because Trump's not leaving. And all over the country, there's millions of crazy, racist, gun-toting AR-15 rednecks just shining those bad boys up. I'm going to kill me some Democrats if they don't leave Trump alone. So now we got a full-blast civil war in the makings. And then I don't know where you go from it. Does Hillary reemerge as the peacemaker? Because she was supposed to be president in the first place. And everything has finally come full circle. Everyone's seen the truth. Like Jim Comey's tweet, he had some Buddhist tweet about, there's 3 things that will always come out: the sun, the moon, and the truth. Well, the truth came out, Jim. Oh my God. Looking back now, how much of a joke is that guy, former FBI director, and he's the one that kept stoking the fires over the last couple of years. He's personal friends with Mueller, and he's doing his little tweets and his little song and dance and yada yada. So, you just got to think this through as far as what the investment the left had in this. And it's got to be just as emotionally devastating as the night Hillary lost, if you think about it. Because this was supposed to be Hillary's redemption. It's like Rush was saying, there's probably a good percentage, I know this is scary for some of you, but there's probably a good percentage of the American public who are so ignorant to the way things work, they probably thought that since if Trump got impeached, Hillary becomes president, not Mike Pence. And Rush Limbaugh brought that up one day, and I started laughing. I thought it was a little far-fetched, and I thought about it later, and I think he's 100% right. So Trump was going to collapse. Eventually, they would get him out there. Eventually, maybe call in the National Guards to suppress all the rednecks who were going to start a civil war. And Hillary would reemerge like the phoenix rising from the ashes. And none of it's going to happen now. Oh, well. But on a serious note, I put on Facebook yesterday that it's probably the beginning of Trump's re-election in 2020. I think unless there's some major economic crash, who's going to believe the Democrats at this point? You got Adam Schiff, a.k.a. the Martian, trying to say that He's going to do more investigations. They are going to go to such a black hole with this, and they're going to make the same exact mistake the Republicans made when they went after Bill Clinton. They are going to make the same mistake. People are going to be exhausted. What I call the apolitical types who could vote either way, don't get involved in politics. But after a while, when they're listening to the radio in their car or the news, eventually say, why are they still investigating that? You know, there's a lot of just normal people. They might not follow politics like people in this conservative group or watching this video, but they're like, it's just an exhaustion. It feeds to that wacky base that the 2020 candidates are voting to, but to the general public, it looks like a circus. So, I mean, Trump's a shoo-in now. I think this Howard Schultz and the Larry Hogan Kasich guys were thinking to primary him. I just think this dumps a bucket of cold water on all of that. How can it not? How can it not? Unless I'm missing something, which I could be. So, but again, the way it played out compared to what they thought was going to take place, that really, really amazes me.